Steve Lessman, Ellen Miller, Dylan Althoff, Whitney Randall. So it was great to have our team out there doing what we do to bring you guys the best that we've got. So thanks to everybody that was a part of the team that was with. If I missed anybody, my apologies. But shout out to everybody that had their hand on the steering wheel last night to keep us moving on down the road. We'll get to that in terms of the elections in a minute, probably after the break. But today's show will be got a unique guest with us in the 6:30 hour. Anna Palermo, who is an actress, jazz singer, and has got some observations about where we are socially and certainly when it comes to education and the arts. She'll be with us in the 6:30 hour. And then our good friend Kurt Mullett will be with us in the 7 o'clock hour. And then at 7:30, Jill Habig, who is an expert in the area of democracy and the right, public rights. She will get into that. We'll get into that. I'm looking forward to chatting with her about her work and how she keeps, she informs, she teaches, and it'll be an interesting conversation with her this morning. But yeah, like I said, we had a lot of coverage last night, starting at 7 p.m. of the elections, and I'm really excited that we were able to put together what we were able to put together, and we'll get into that after this our first break. But I have to share this with you guys, given the fact, Henry, that yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. Everybody's posting all kinds of different things in their green, and I wore green yesterday. It was a muted green, but it was more of a foresty green rather than a big, brilliant green. But I sported a little bit of it in my adult Garanimals way of dressing. Real easy, solid colors. You just kind of flip things around. But I saw this really interesting post yesterday on social media, AJ Blyles, that I just thought was so appropriate. And here it is. It says, as an Irish person living in Ireland, to Americans who voted for Trump, you don't have the permission to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I just thought, okay, I can get with that. It goes on to say, if you are intolerant of immigrants, you don't have the right to engage in the holidays and practices of the cultures you denounce. Slanja. Right, Henry? Slanja. So shout out to AJ for this post. And there's another one that in the comments that I thought was really kind of cool. Another person said, Maria says, Cinco de Mayo as well. So, I don't disagree with that at all. And how many times have you guys been on social media, whatever wherever you are, where you've seen people, yelling at somebody of Hispanic or Latin or Mexican heritage while they're in a restaurant that's the dominant cuisine, right? Yeah. And so I like what AJ puts out there. As an Irish person living in Ireland, to Americans who voted for Trump, you don't have the permission to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Wow. If you are intolerant of immigrants, you don't have the right to engage in the holidays and practices of the cultures you denounce. That is powerful, y'all. It just is. And listen, I've looked at it. I've said something like that. I haven't said it with that sort of, clarity. But I agree that the denigration of people anywhere on the planet, but oftentimes America just, puts blinders on and says, hey, it's this day. We're going to, and, Cinco de Mayo, we're going to see it happen this year. But anyhow, got a quick clip that I want you guys to hear that I think I talked about this a brief bit last night when it comes to where Congress is when it comes to DHS funding and all that's going on with around the conversation around security and this war. And this is coming from Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut.
Republicans are calling on Democrats to consider stopping the position you've taken, which is to halt some funding to Homeland Security. Do you feel you need to reconsider this position?
So the Republicans are saying that because they launched an illegal, disastrous war in Iran, we should give them permission to continue using ICE to murder American citizens, to allow them to get the funding to tear gas schools. No, we need to stand up for the American citizens that ICE is murdering, the kids that they are terrorizing. They should stop this illegal war, and they should stop ICE from terrorizing our communities. We should demand that they do both things.
Well, the administration would say they have adjusted some of the way they're carrying out policies within DHS.
They have not. I mean, just because some of the world's and the nation's attention has turned away from Minneapolis, that doesn't mean that they aren't still brutalizing American citizens. We just discovered last week that they had left a Burmese immigrant for dead 5 miles from his home, blind and disabled. This brutality is continuing in the country. We can do two things at once. We can demand that ICE stop murdering American citizens, and we can demand that the administration not send our kids to die for a war that we don't need.
So you believe that with the current funding Homeland Security has, that they are able to protect the homeland in an adequate fashion? That's what I hear you saying.
Listen, I believe that the administration should make a commitment to legally prosecuting the laws of this nation. I don't have any obligation to fund a Department of Homeland Security that is violating the law every day, just like I don't have any obligation to support this war that is illegal as well.
So 3 weeks and counting. It sounds like the standoff is not ending.
Well, if they agree to start adhering to the law at the Department of Homeland Security, they'll have the votes immediately. But listen, this is what the people want. The people want ICE to start behaving legally, and they don't want wars overseas. So I think this is a pretty clear case of Democrats standing with the American people when it comes to domestic crises and international crises.
That was Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut talking on Face the Nation with Elizabeth Brennan. There's a couple things that I like about this. One, the content of what he said. Listen, Democrats are doing the work to get this done, to get things right, not just pass it to say we passed it, but to get things done the right way and to call out with regard to this war, all the pieces that we ask Democrats to do and to stand up for. And I support that way of that type of leadership. I think Senator Chris Murphy is spot on. This is not on the Democrats. This is on the Republicans. We have to keep this straight, guys. This is on all that's happening. The SAVE Act that's coming to vote tomorrow. This is on the Republicans, not on the Democrats. Buying up, having insiders buy up voting machines and changing the names of them. I just got this information. I can't take credit for it from our good friend Kurt Herner in Akron, Ohio, about a Trump lackey is buying up the Dominion voting systems and changing their names. This is all on Republicans. This is on Republican access, changing it to rebranding it as Liberty Vote. So I applaud Senator Murphy for coming out and standing strong. And each time Margaret tried to put it back on Democrats, he pushed back. It's like, no, we want more of our Democratic leaders and fighters to do that. When they go on any of the press of the corporate media press outlets, and they get asked these questions that are slanted or tilted toward trying to have Republican talking points be the dominant conversation, no, got to push back. And that's why I've been saying for weeks, if not months now, Democrats have to, all of us have to remove the desire or even the accidental use of Republican talking points. We have to, all of us. And I'm glad to see Senator Murphy take that position. Let's go to a quick break, Henry. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. During the Civil War, 11% of the Confederate Army was made up of enslaved men forced to join. One of these men was Robert Smalls. Smalls was a deckhand on the Confederate supply ship known as the Planter. During his time, Smalls learned as much as he could about navigating the ship so he and others could escape. And on May 13th of 1862, while officers were sleeping, Smalls, along with 16 others, took the Planter out of the Charleston harbor, navigating through all 5 checkpoints while heading to open waters looking for the Union blockade. Smalls raised a white flag of surrender, letting Union soldiers board the ship, giving them guns, ammo, and documents about planned Confederate attacks. Being a wealth of information, Smalls was given the role of the Union Navy captain. Stories like Smalls are one of the many factors convincing President Lincoln to allow free African Americans to serve in the Union Army. This has been a WCPT Veteran Minute.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us this morning. A couple of quick Choose Views news items, and then we'll get into talking about yesterday's primary. Here, March 18th, 2026, diesel prices top $5 in the U.S., squeezing the broader economy. They surpassed $5 a gallon for the first time in more than 3 years yesterday, threatening a host of global industries as in this continued war with Iran. The energy prices are going to continue to rise. Diesel powers industries like freight and agriculture and construction, all according to Bloomberg, are seeing prices climb faster than they have in any recent time. The SEC moves to eliminate mandatory quarterly reports. This is allowing companies the option to disclose earnings biannually, according to the Wall Street Journal. The SEC proposal, which could be released early April, would allow the quarterly cadence to be optional, reducing costs and short-term pressures tied to quarterly business targets. Trump and the SEC Chairman Paul Atkins have been vocal advocates for the change, which supporters say could help encourage U.S. companies to go public. I'm not completely certain of that. My concern is that they're going to have more. There's two ways of looking at it. This way is one. The other is by having it be on the frequency that we've been. It does provide investors a sooner period of time to understand what their investments are doing and how companies are actually performing. I'm trying to stay away from using certain words when it comes to disclosure, but we'll see where this goes. The USPS warns Congress it won't survive without urgent help. In a meeting with Congress yesterday, there are urgent reforms and additional funding that are needed as it faces an impending financial crisis. Postmaster General David Steiner says if USPS demands aren't met, the agency will likely shutter by the year end, which is awful. That's jobs for people. That's an economy. That's going to be a negative on the economy because of the number of people that work in postal services and offices all over the country. And it's going to really impact rural residents when it comes to how they get their mail. Steiner plans to advocate for higher stamp prices, increased borrowing capacity, and various cost-cutting measures. Dell shrinks its workforce by 10% for the second straight year, mirroring a trend across the AI-disrupted tech industry, according to Reuters. The computer and artificial intelligence server maker reported a 10% reduction in employees to 97,000 for fiscal 2026. Last but not least, Amazon is rolling out a 1 to 3 hour delivery in the United States, in U.S. cities. This is to affect more than 90,000 products, including cleaning supplies, toys, and over-the-counter medications. All are available for quick service, their super quick service that they're pushing for. In the initial stages of the test, customers in about 2,000 cities and towns have access to 3 hour deliveries. In several hundreds of those areas, the 1 hour turnaround will be offered as well. Amazon plans to expand elsewhere in the country in the next few months. The company obviously has invested a tremendous amount and heavily investing in fast deliveries. So a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this March 18th, 2026. There you go. Got it right. So elections last night. And again, shout out to our team of people who were all over the place making things happen. So right out of the gate, probably the big election that everybody's talking about, and I mean not just here in the state of Illinois, but certainly throughout the country, is the Senate race, the Senate primary with Lieutenant Governor Stratton, Congresswoman Kelly, and Congressman Krishnamurthy. Lieutenant Governor won, and we're happy across the board that she won, or if Kelly had won, or if Krishnamurthy had won, because it's a Democrat. We know that in the midterm election, we still got to win that. But I think that I've had a number of observations. One of them, obviously, is that we're going to be Illinois again sending a black woman to the Senate. Carol Moseley Braun was the last. Illinois, folks can say whatever the hell they want to about Illinois and the city of Chicago, but at the end of the day, we do something, Henry. We deliver through all the hell that we catch from corporate media, from pundits, from loudmouth Republicans in the state, in the city, in your neighborhood. We get stuff done. And it's significant that a black female is going to be going to the U.S. Senate, and she's coming out of Illinois, a lieutenant governor, one of the few also in the nation. She is a trendsetter. She is definitely one knocking down doors, and I am proud and honored to have had her on the show going back the last year and a half. So now what we're going to do is Democrats, progressive liberal Democrats, is we're going to do everything we have to get behind her winning. A lot of people said that the challenge was going to be that Krishnamurthy was going to win because the black vote would be split between Congresswoman Kelly and the lieutenant governor, and that did not happen. What it proved is that black voters showed up, but white voters and everybody else did too. That's the real message. Nobody talking about that yet. It showed that even as a black woman running, people showed up because they want to see a strong leader out there making things happen. And she, as I said, after we had the debate, the WCPT debate at the Union Hall, and I said this last night to Patty, and I said this literally that afternoon after the debate, that Lieutenant Governor Stratton, she planted her flag, and she was unapologetic about where she is and what she stands for. And I think I know all three of our candidates, the leading three candidates, let me make sure I say it that way, are fighters. I know that Congresswoman Kelly has been a fighter for a long time. And our lieutenant governor most definitely has. So it was just exciting to see that happen. It was exciting to see such strong voter turnout, which is another thing that has to be talked about. And it also has to be, it doesn't fall on deaf ears that Governor Pritzker, obviously he picked as lieutenant governor. But he also had another good pick last night. He picked Melissa Croak for comptroller, and she won. And so I was watching Chris Jansing on MS Now. Stop me, Henry. And she asked the question, what kind of sway does the governor's pick have? Well, I think it may or may not have had anything to do with the race, but it may have had everything, not everything, but a lot to do. But ultimately, the voters decided. And in the state comptroller race, clearly, the endorsement by the governor meant something. But the big conversation is money in politics. And all of these races had a certain amount of money in them, no matter how you look at it. There's no question around it. All the races had money in those races. And where it came from is often a big question, but I got to talk about that because one of the things that happened in the race, and it particularly happened as we got closer to Election Day, is an outside agency, an outside organization that has no footprint in Illinois, no involvement, no connection, known as Fair Shake. They lit up the airwaves with trashy ads going after the lieutenant governor, going after LaShawn Ford, who won his race. He was, they were all over the place, trash-talking the lieutenant governor, trash-talking LaShawn Ford, and they both persevered. They're fighters. We want fighters in leadership roles, whether it be in politics, obviously, but in business and in social organizations and the rest. And these two showed it. Daniel Biss, another fighter. He won in his congressional race, or in his primary, I should say. Melissa Bean, another fighter. She's back in the game. Pat Hines. So we had a lot of people who were willing to stand up and say they're going to fight for the people that they believe in. And that's the entire, see the difference between, and I just have to say this because you guys know where I stand. I go back to what former governor of Florida said. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Oh my God. David, David Jolly. Yeah. Our ideas are better. They just are. They're better because it's about helping everybody. The politicians that are elected, the Democratic politicians have proven something over the years. You can love them or you can hate them. But one of the things that they've proven is that they're going to work for policies and programs that are beneficial to all voters, to all communities. They're going to be less divisive. They're going to be tough and call things out, but they're going to do things that are for the broader base of people. And that's why the Big Tent is often, one of the references that's and labels that is put out there when it comes to progressive liberal Democrats. And so the folks that won in the primaries yesterday are all people who talked about making sure that they had policies and programs that were going to benefit all folks. And I think that message is important right now, because we want leaders who are going to, it's not even reaching across the aisle. It's just, let's help everybody. Let's make sure that the person who is a up and coming middle class, business person, the entrepreneur, the artist, the dancer, the singer, and all the rest have a seat at the table. And if it means we get a bigger table, then we get a bigger table. And I think that's what was shown yesterday, is that everybody should be included in this conversation. And the people that won had that message right out in front, unapologetically. And so I'm happy to see that the people that won last night have that message, and hopefully will continue that as part of their campaign as we get toward the midterms. Another big message that I think was sent last night is that when people show up and come out to fight, then we all win. So very happy to see the success from last night. Very thrilled that people got things done and the elections went well. And I'm happy for all of the folks here in Illinois that turned out to vote. So kudos to everyone. We're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. When we come back, we will be talking with another fighter, another person that puts it out there with unconditional confidence, Anna Palermo. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today. So they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. For today, we'll have some lingering snow showers to start, otherwise wrapping up as we head towards the midday and afternoon with high temperatures into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a chance for some light rain showers developing late, a low of 34. Thursday, lingering chance for some showers through midday, a high of 54, and for your Friday into the mid-60s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 24.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being with us this morning. So, you guys know how I am about leadership and people that step up and do things, and you know, and you also know how I feel about the arts and education and entertainment as part of our society. But I'll tell you, and you guys know how I feel about fitness and taking care of yourself. But I'll tell you guys a story. I'll make it as quick as I can in introducing our first guest this morning. Probably about 15 years ago, I was at the gym working out, Henry, and I saw this woman working with some people on these machines, and they were like vibrating machines. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I hadn't really I'd seen them, but but then I saw this woman working with some people on those machines. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So she was doing a little class of like 3 or 4 people. It ended, and everybody kind of left and went about their way. So that kind of snuck over. So let me see what these are all about. And I walked over, and I was kind of trying to figure out the buttons and everything because they were really new. And all of a sudden, this person walked up behind me and said, "Can I help you, sir?" Tapped me on my shoulder. I was like, yeah. And I was like, trying to figure. She said, "Well, you can't really use those without a personal trainer being helping you with them." And I was like, okay, my bad. I didn't know. It was just kind of curious Richard. And, I was like, I walked away. So a couple of days later, I was back and I saw this woman teaching a class again. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I walked up and I said, hi, I'm curious about the machines. And to fast forward the story to the end, she said, so this is what you got to do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cool. And as time went by, we started talking. We'd wave at each other, say hi, how you doing? And that story stays with me. I'm a very visual rememberer of things because I remember watching her always helping people, always making sure people were, kind of getting what they needed in their personal training, and always making sure that people were in a good space. And that stayed with me. And then we started to get to know each other and talk. And the next thing I know, she's got sons and she's, doing things as a mom. And we developed a friendship, a professional friendship. Then I come to find out that she can sing and that she can act a little bit. And I was like, oh, so you roll like that. You're a personal trainer. And you got all this other skill over here. You're a mom. You got 2 boys, which is hard as hell to raise 2 boys. So I'm giving you guys this long opening because we then became friends, professional friends, and someone that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And I'm talking about my first guest this morning, Anna Palermo. Good morning, Anna, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Do you remember that, or do you kind of go?
I do. Oh, yes. That was a while ago.
Yeah, it was.
How time flies.
Yes, it does. But, the reason that I position it that way is, I appreciate people who are leaders and take the role of helping people and taking charge. And you have done that in your career, both as a professional artist as well as a personal trainer. But take a moment and just kind of share with the audience a little bit of your story, and then we'll get into talking about your upcoming show.
Okay. Well, I went to school for musical theater and then decided to do personal training to kind of, survive. And it's also was a passion as well. And then I had 2 beautiful boys and kind of lost my way with performing. And then I found cabaret and I could produce my own shows, make my own schedule. So I said, this is what I'm going to do right now so that I can have the arts and do something creative for myself and to share with others and still be able to raise my two boys. So trying to find that balance, which now that they're teenagers, you know, it's a little
getting older,
easier.
huh?
Yeah.
Well, your story is one that is, again, I look at all of what we do as part of our big American dream. And, you know, your story is that of the American dream. You know, you've done some great things in your professional work as a trainer and so many people's lives that you've touched. And I think that the people that have been able to work with you in that capacity have really benefited. And you probably protected them from some injuries and all the other things that personal trainers do. But your art side is just really phenomenal. And talk a little bit about your upcoming show that you have. I guess you've got two shows. Tell us what's happening with the shows. And we want to hear. We're kind of greedy about this. Tell us.
Oh, well, I'm starting with a show here in Chicago. It's called From This Moment On. And I'm working with a director out of New York, Lena Katrakis, and my music director, Becky Menzie, who lives in Chicago. And I guess I've been working on this project probably for a good year and a half, 2 years now. It takes time, but, you know, I'd rather do something well instead of just throw something up on stage. But, you know, it's an introduction for me into the New York cabaret community. So I'll be doing the show in New York in May. And it's basically, I feel like, you know, ever since COVID, I just started saying yes to more things with life, with travel, you know, with trying to see as much of the world as I can to share with friends, you know, my experiences. And I think that's basically what the show is about, is just, you know, try something new, like get out of your comfort zone. So I'm excited to do it here in Chicago, Friday, April 10th, and that will be at Piano Forte down in the South Loop, which is a great venue. And then in New York, Friday, May 8th at Don't Tell Mama. So, yeah.
Well, the point you made about trying something new, on the heels of, the reason I thought it would be great to have you on this morning is that, you know, it's the day after midterm election or primary elections, and so much going on politically, so much going on throughout the country and the world. We all have, and we just come off of the Academy Awards, which we'll talk about in a second. But, you know, I've been, I was told this years ago that balance is so important in our lives, and whatever you choose to use as your tools to balance yourself out, you figure them out, and they may change as time goes by, but not to be not afraid or to be encouraged to try something new or do something a little bit different. And I say oftentimes, when, you know, I here on the show, I say, listen, commute to work differently, get home, take a different route, so you can see things from a different perspective, or go through a different neighborhood and all those sorts of things, and try it a little bit differently. So I thought that, you know, when you said that, it's a good reminder that we want to be able to, you know, some people say step out on faith, do some things differently, and try to take on some new challenges. And you definitely have been unafraid in that space. And with two boys, I'm sure that challenge has been one for you. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes. I mean, well, now that they're older, there are different concerns. But I guess finding the balance for me was finding cabaret, because it was a way for me to create my own schedule, my own rehearsals, and not have to go by someone else's schedule. So, you know, to be able to do their school functions and not have to say, okay, well, I have rehearsal 5 days this week, I've got a performance, you know, 3 nights here. So it's been a blessing to be able to do this art form and to also have the time to be with my boys, because I feel like it makes me a better mother to be able to do something that I love and that defines me as a person, because I feel like a lot of times as mothers, we sometimes lose ourselves. And I was going down that path when Luca was 1, and something woke me up and I said, I'm going to an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I found Becky Menzie. And, that was over 10 years ago. So we've been, and all I would tell her when I started working with her, I just want to sing again. I just want to sing. And then she started encouraging me to do shows, and it's been a beautiful thing. And, to be an example for my boys of doing something that you love, I think that's important too, so that they go after their dreams and what they want to pursue.
Representation. I've said this oftentimes. We hear that a representation in our political world, our social world, our economics, our business is important. If you can't see it, you can't be it, and all the phrases that people throw out. And I've often said that it's great for boys to see their fathers or a male role model. But I'm also kind of a mama's boy, so I understand that's oftentimes, that person who you look up to, and it's just that is their star for a young man is his mother or his auntie or his big sister, and the same is true for girls. That sometimes that uncle or that big brother or that guy gives them someone to look to and say, I can be like him or her. And right now, I mean, just look at the way in which so many of our candidates politically, and I know that you're not as steeped in politics as I am, but from a social perspective, the number of women that are just stepping out and making things happen. We've got a black woman that's probably going to become the next senator from the state of Illinois. I mean, how cool is that? And we've got, Melissa Bean is back in the fight. And we've got other women throughout the country that are just saying, we're going to break through. But I think boys can appreciate that, too, by seeing that woman broke through and I can break through as well. Talk a little bit about how the leadership of women right now has been impactful to you.
Well, I mean, gosh, it's changed since I was in college to now. And I feel like we're starting to break the glass ceiling more. And it gives me hope and energy and a fire that, yeah, I can do what I want to do and, be respected and feel equal. And I think it's a beautiful thing. It's like if I'm having a bad day, I can look and they're role models for me. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. I think that many of us right now are searching for consistency in the people that we look to as leaders. And they're popping up in so many different venues right now. And people are, I think one of the conversations that we had last night, we were doing the coverage of the election results, is that the message that's been sent sort of politically and socially right now is that we're all going to fight back. And I think that's showing by the numbers of people that showed up to vote in the primaries here in Illinois, but in other states too. And I think it's, as much as it's a political statement, it's also a social statement that people are going to show up and fight for other folk. And I think that's a really big message that we all can appreciate, because you can say, going back to what you said, Anna, if they can do it, then I should probably get off my tail and get out there and do it as well. So, it's an exciting time to be involved in whatever capacity it might be. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Anna Palermo, who got a new show From This Moment On. Tell us about the title. Where'd that come from? How did you come up with the title for your upcoming performance?
Well, it's actually a Cole Porter tune, and it took a while to find a title for the show, and I had been singing the song, and my director Lena and I were talking, and we had, a couple of ideas, and this just, it was there all along, and it was like, oh, light bulb moment. So yeah, it's from the Cole Porter tune, and it just pretty much sums up the moment I woke up and said, from this moment on, I am moving forward. I am going to experience life and try not to be afraid. And if I am, to try to work through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get to the other side, because it's usually a beautiful thing when you do.
That's for all the good stuff. On the other side, I think it's Will Smith that said a few years ago on the other, and we all have known this, but sometimes when someone says it publicly, it becomes, part of our conversation. The other side of fear is where all the good stuff is. And so, that's it's clearly what you've done. Who have been in recent years from an artistic standpoint, some of your people that, not that you follow, but you really have said that they're setting the standard in performing arts?
Well, I think she's more old school, but I mean, I love Barbara Streisand, and I have so much respect for her. I saw her, I guess that was right before COVID, one of her last concerts, and she's just personifies everything I would hope to be on stage and more, with my own authenticity.
Right.
But I mean, she's up there, and this is who I am, and not forgiving. If you like it, great. If not,
sort of unapologetically doing her thing. Yeah, no, that she definitely has exemplified that her entire career. When we going back to this the conversation around women that have put part of their careers on hold to raise families and all the rest. I mean, it's an interesting statistic, but somewhere in the range of 24, almost 26% of women leave the labor market, in their first years of motherhood, and that number was kind of magnified during COVID because of obviously what we all had to do to shelter in and be safe, but I'm seeing that number it's not that it's going down, but it seems like more and more women now are recognizing that COVID taught them a lot about how to navigate motherhood and this crazy condition, this crazy virus that we had. How have you seen things for you as we've come through that and we've all been navigating it and trying to figure our way forward?
I feel I figured it out during COVID. I did a lot of online stuff, as did everybody else. And I found the silver lining in that, with being able to spend more time with the boys, which was a gift. And I feel like now, fast forward to this point, I have a little more flexibility with work, and that's a good thing. I can see clients online. I don't have to be in person all the time. So if I want to travel, or if I need to be somewhere, I can, adjust and make that happen, which is, it's a nice thing.
Yeah, without a doubt. So there's obviously an attack right now, socially and politically, on education and the arts. And we've seen so much that has been done by this current administration. And to talk a little politics for a minute, or at least to talk about social issues politically, give us your take on what you're seeing and how this is, whether it's directly or indirectly impacting you, not just your work as an artist, but what you see as it relates to children and arts education and funding there.
Yeah, it's disappointing. It's sad. You know, it's important to help foster creativity, empathy, cognition. So, I mean, well, I guess last month I went to Greenville Fine Arts Center in Greenville, South Carolina, received an email. My voice teacher passed away a few years ago, and he had a scholarship in his name, and they're having problems funding it. So, you know, I donated, but that's, you know, the first time that they've reached out to their alumni for things like that. So, you know, it's sad, it's disappointing. I think the arts, any form, brings joy, happiness. It brings us together as a community, which is so important, especially right now with everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah, and I've been really, I guess you could say, inspired by so many people in the arts business getting involved and doing, you know, exactly what you did, and that's donating time, if not other resources, to try to make things better where you know, funding has been taken away in an area, and I hadn't even thought about it. Use the word cognition. How much art and how much creativity all tie into improving one's cognition. I hadn't even thought about it that way. I guess sometimes you think about things in a certain way, but you know, this is why we have these conversations, so we can get someone else's perspective in that area. The Academy Awards this past weekend or Sunday were quite amazing. I mean, you know, some predictions that were made were accurate, and others where there were some surprises. What did you walk away thinking and feeling about some of the winners and such?
Well, I feel like even the people who didn't win were so supportive and kind, and I just found that to be lovely.
Yeah.
You know, supporting each other, coming together, and I think it's important, and it sets a good example.
Yeah, and that was clear from you saw the hugs and the high fives and the acknowledgments of. I thought one of the coolest things was when Michael B. Jordan, when he was walking across the stage and having won for best male lead role, you know, acknowledged his homeboy Jesse Plemons.
Yeah,
I thought that was really kind of cool to see. He understands his roots, and he, you know, gave a you know, big shout out to him. So it was a very supportive evening. I know that a lot of people had their opinions one way or the other about it, and you know, but at the end of the day, the support that was there was great to see. My goal was to be a support for you in what you're doing with your work, and let our folks know as we wrap up, Anna, how they can find you, how they can plug in and check out your Chicago show. And for those who might be on the East Coast checking us out this morning, how they can catch your New York show.
Yes, you can visit AnnaPalermoSings.com, and the information for the Chicago and New York shows are on there. And you can get tickets for the Chicago show, New York show, you make reservations, but I do hope to see you.
That's right. It's been great having you with us this morning. I wish you all the success with both of the shows, and I'm so glad that we were able to take some time and talk about something fun and something that puts smiles on our faces during this crazy time that we're in right now. Anna Palermo, from this moment on, thanks for being with us this morning. We appreciate you taking some time out to hang out.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Take care.
We'll talk soon.
Too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Henry, let's go to a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
John Fugelsang. Listen, y'all, the dude wrote a book called Separation of Church and Hate. What a great title. Tell us a little bit what's happening in that space.
Well, and I'm so grateful to you and all the deeply attractive listeners of WCPT for supporting this book. So I wrote this book for years ago about how to use the Bible for believers and atheists, because even if you don't believe in Jesus, if you're debating a right-wing Christian on any of the issues that divide us, Jesus is probably on your side, whether he's a literal figure or not. They don't care about the teachings of Jesus. They don't care about religious freedom. They don't give a damn what God tells you to do in the Bible. They care about conservative Christian power. That's it. Jesus' movement was all about humanity and all about humility. He was not about total right-wing domination of the school board.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Donald Trump has implemented a barbaric anti-immigration policy with mass deportations and having ICE agents showing up unannounced at people's homes, workplaces, and anywhere they suspect, separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people without any due process. But one company is taking a stand against Donald Trump. Greyhound Bus Lines has implemented a no warrant, no boarding policy. This prohibits ICE agents to enter the vehicle without a warrant. Greyhound Bus says they want to guarantee the rights and civil liberties of their passengers. Greyhound Bus is the largest inner-city bus system in the U.S., with over 1,600 destinations. Maybe this will lead to more companies stepping up like Greyhound is. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Amazon Business empowers leaders with smart business buying tools, leaving time to focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future at AmazonBusiness.com.
AP News, I'm Mike Hempen. Israel says it has killed another top Iranian official, which would be the third in 2 days. Israel's defense minister says Iran's intelligence minister was killed overnight. Iran lashed out early Wednesday with multiple attacks on its Persian Gulf neighbors and Israel, using some of its latest missiles to evade air defenses. 2 people were killed in Tel Aviv. Dozens of ships are slipping through the Strait of Hormuz as Iran's oil exports get through.
About 90 ships, including oil tankers, have crossed the Strait of Hormuz since the beginning of the war with Iran. Maritime and trade data platforms report it's still exporting millions of barrels of oil at a time, when it says it closed the key waterway for vessels of the US and its allies. And analysts say Iranian oil export volumes remain resilient. Many of the vessels that have passed through the strait are so-called dark transits, evading Western sanctions that likely have ties with Iran. More recently, vessels with ties to India and Pakistan have also successfully crossed the strait as governments step up negotiations. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
President Trump will be present this afternoon when the remains of 6 U.S. service members return from the Middle East to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware. The crew members of an Air Force refueling aircraft were killed last week when the plane crashed over friendly territory in western Iraq while it was supporting operations against Iran. There's a growing body of data showing the tariffs President Trump said would help American factories are in fact squashing many of them. Data shows manufacturing jobs dropped during Trump's first year back in office. The White House says the Republican president's policies will take time to make a difference. This is AP News. The winner of last year's Iditarod has won again.
Former reality TV star Jesse Holmes has cruised to a repeat victory in the Iditarod, the roughly 1,000-mile sled dog race in Alaska. At the ceremonial kickoff March 7th, Holmes said he wanted to put his best foot forward.
It means everything to me to defend the title. It means I have it, It means I achieved my biggest goal in life, but we're not done, I just want to try to keep pushing myself to do great things.
The course took dog teams and their mushers over 2 mountain ranges, along the frozen Yukon River and across the unpredictable Bering Sea ice. Holmes is a former cast member on the National Geographic reality show Life Below Zero, showing the struggles of people living in rural Alaska. Holmes currently lives on a homestead in Alaska, where his closest neighbor is 30 miles away. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
I'm Mike Hempen, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll have some lingering snow showers to start, otherwise wrapping up as we head towards the midday and afternoon with high temperatures into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a chance for some light rain showers developing late, a low of 34. Thursday, lingering chance for some showers through midday, a high of 54, and for your Friday into the mid-60s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 25.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
The smartest way to spend your money is not to. Straight Talk offers free 5G phones for new and existing customers on Verizon's 5G network. So the refund money I don't spend on that free phone is the refund money I get to keep for my family. Smart.
Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Taxes and fees apply. Plan purchase required for free phone offers. Copyright 2026 Verizon.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks to Anna Palermo for hanging out with us this morning. She's excellent, great performer, and if you get a chance to check out her show, it's at Piano Forte, 1335 South Michigan Avenue on Friday, April 10th. Get yourself some tickets and show up and support a local artist here in Chicago. And if you happen to be in New York and you're listening to our show, you can catch her in May. So go to her website and provide her with the support that we as progressive liberal Democrats do. Y'all know how I feel about my man. It's coming up next. It's Wednesday. And that means we're going to be talking for the next few minutes with our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blues 63. Good morning, Kurt.
Hey, good morning, Richard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well,
Thanks
brother.
for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I'm doing well. I get a big smile on my face. I know I'm going to be talking to you, and I just I always am excited about the fact that you and I get to spend a little bit of time together talking about a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and I appreciate that so much. So.
Yeah, man. Me too.
Thank you.
Wow, I could start in a bunch of different lanes right now because of all this going on. But the one that is the big one right here in Illinois is our primaries, and I'm sure you caught some of the races and the announcements and the wins and all that. But
yeah,
you know, we're about to send a black woman to the U.S. Senate. Something that the state of Illinois has done before, and Carol Moseley Braun, and so. People can say what they want to about us, but I think we get some stuff done here in Illinois and Chicago.
Yeah, congratulations to Ms. Stratton, and there's Stratton, and that was a great victory for her. So
yeah, I'm excited
good
about
for
it.
Illinois.
It's good for Illinois. It's good for the country. And so it's a cool time. Listen, man, these folks, not these folks specifically, I should say, those that are part of the GOP, my goodness. Now we got Joe Kent resigning. I think I sent you that. I'm not sure you saw it on your own, but Joe Kent is resigning, a Republican sheriff. Where out in is it not in Colorado? Where is this dude located? Oh my gosh, in Florida. Yeah, I think it's a Florida sheriff is revolting against the mass deportation policy. Joe Kent resigning regarding the war. Is there any real fire to this smoke that there might be some real cracks in the MAGA cult and the stronghold that Trump has on him, or are we fooling ourselves?
No, I think actually it's happening more than what they're letting on. They're trying to, how they can keep information from us. And that's the one thing people got to keep in mind is that information is suppressed and not, it's not everything is put out there like it has in the past. So I think let me tell you this, it's this regime that's in the White House right now has their nerves are on end more than what they are letting on. I mean, the subpoena for Pam Bondi was a shocker.
I forgot about that. Like, yeah, keep it going.
Wow. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, a dude that pounded on Hunter Biden for 7 years is
right.
What? Excuse me, what the HELL is going on here? I mean, but hey, I hope that this continues because it's, Richard, you and I have talked about this before on and off the show. We are in a time that is just so hard to understand, and we can relate so much to the citizens of Germany in 1930 who were against the Nazi regime. How can this be happening?
Yeah.
How is this taking place? With the things that have been done to Venezuela and the things that are being done to Cuba, what happened to Gaza and the annihilation, the genocide that happened there, and now what's taking place with this illegal war. I mean, and listening to this guy talk,
it is.
Gavin Newsom, he's just dumb. I mean, who talks like that? Who talks like that? Especially a dude that's in president of the United States. I mean, come on, dude. What? And people want to talk. We listened relentlessly to them talking about Joe Biden's mental condition. Are you kidding me? This guy has never been stable. He can't read. He doesn't know anything about history. He doesn't know about scripture. He knows nothing about science. He's completely illiterate. Professors called him an idiot. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And we have a cult out there that just will not, let go of their daddy. They're going to defend their daddy to the very end.
Did you
sickening?
Did you post something about the intellect? I think it was you that posted this, and I hope I'm not wrong about this. In terms of the intellect, and listen, let me pump the brakes for both me and Kurt on this. We're not taking any elite position about educated versus not educated and all the rest. We're not those dudes. No. We know where we come from, and we know we've got people in our camp and our friendship, all of our world that didn't get an ounce of college or whatever, barely made it out of high school, but will run circles around you, blindfolded. So it isn't about people and their college education or their high school, their education, formal or not. It's about people that have got some sense. And this person in the White House doesn't have any and doesn't give a darn about anything other than himself. And the way in which he's presenting himself right now in these press briefings and all the rest, and I juxtapose that against what Kurt was probably about to say with regard to Joe Biden. President Biden may have been slow. He slowed down a lot. We all do. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But President Biden was aware of the issues. He was fully cognizant of the things that are important to the constituency. And he may have delivered it slow. His stuttering may have come back a little bit because he got old like we all do. But he was still aware of the issues and what mattered to us as a society. So there isn't really a comparison that these knuckleheads can make, because at least President Biden was plugged in and knew what the hell was going on the issues. His delivery, I could care less about his delivery and the timing of it because, hell, he's 80 years old. But go ahead. I know you got something to say about that.
Right. No, I mean, I'm not going to stand up here and defend Joe Biden. I mean, because Joe made plenty of mistakes. We all do. But what people forget is that he had a speech impediment. He dealt with stuttering his entire life, and he was able to control it very well throughout his life until he got older. And as we get older, issues that we have come back to
they magnify
the forefront. because we have less control of them. So that was part of the issue. But you are correct in saying that he did have his pulse. Whether his pulse or his finger being on the pulse of the situation was wrong or right, he had it there. This dude has no clue whatsoever. And look, you and I are two different people. You're black, I'm white. You're highly educated. I don't have a high education background, okay? But we both have street smarts and common sense, and we know enough not to be an idiot. And this guy can't. He can't control that. He's just an idiot, period. There's nothing else you can say. There's not a good trait about him. I mean, seriously, nothing about him.
And I think our core belief system is that we care about each other. We care about others. We want to make sure that the people around us, irrespective of our relevant education, our experiences are built on. That's going back to something that Anna said about connecting with people and finding the joy. We look for that first. I think cats like you and me, we try to find the good first and connect to that, and stuff that ain't going to be exactly fitting all the time, and that's just life. That's part of and that. But see, that's where I think one strengthens themselves, and this is what the GOP and MAGA doesn't have the capacity to do. So we don't have to call them stupid, but I don't think that they show a capacity to change or to find their blind spot, if you will. And I'm probably getting way in the weeds, y'all, but to find the blind spot and go, what can I do to affect that and make that better? It doesn't seem that they have the capacity, and their leader loves the fact that they're just willing to kind of march along, go out there, say and do stupid A stuff in the name of him who is doing stupid A stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways that you can judge the character of an individual and who they are. One of the ways that I look at people, or how I don't want to say judge, but how I can view a person and who they are, is how they can connect with people, and how they can build their circle. They keep on expanding. You are a great example of that. How many people have you met over your lifetime, or just since you came back to WCPT and started doing this, that you never would have met without being in this world? And I feel the same thing. The privilege that I have been given by making connections since I started doing this and fighting against this proves to me that I do have quite a few allies out there and people who believe the same way I do. You're a perfect example of that. But just in the last year or two, Shanique, Marie, Sierra, Tabitha, Victoria, Courtney, Jesse, Jackson, Julie. I mean, I can go on. Yep. The list goes on of the people that I have been able to connect with who are so far removed from what I am as a person. I mean, I'm a 62-year-old white guy, and I just listed black people, young people that I never would have crossed paths with if I wasn't in this fight and doing what I'm doing. And that includes, like I said, you. So when you build, a group of people, you surround yourself with a group of people that are strong and same-minded and have the same vision and want to accomplish the same things. The world, it's endless what you can achieve. This guy is not that dude. Okay, it is all about him. And
to be part of that world, something that I don't want to let slip my mind, it's got to be about what you give to him and what you do for him, rather than what it is that the community can do for everybody. And clearly, that's a big part, because and I know that you experience this a lot, and in some cases maybe more than I do, when you encounter a MAGA person online or however you've encountered them, it's always, from what you share with me, been about them, not about the greater good of people. And that seems to be the case. And that's why I asked the question, do you think that it's real that there's these fractures that we're seeing, whether it be, Comer subpoenaing Pam Bondi, or Joe Kent's resignation about this war in Iran, or these sheriffs that are revolting on immigration? It's all, I think, a sign. At least I hope it is. And people might think I'm crazy, so I'll say that first. That it's a sign that there are people who maybe are pulling themselves back from the precipice a little bit to say, hey, wait a minute, we have gone too far. Now Comer, I don't trust, because I think that's for him. That's really about him more than it is about really the disclosure of how she handled the Epstein files. I think that's about him. I could be wrong. Yeah. We'll see how it plays itself out. I don't trust the dude at all, because I've seen what he's done before, and I think he might be running cover for the GOP. Candidly,
yeah, and I misspoke about him, but anyway.
No. It's not so much misspeaking. It's just how we assess what their real motives are. I think that these sheriffs are really speaking loudly about the mass deportation and what it's causing for them in their communities, and I think that that's less about them and more about the treatment of the people that they've probably known for a period of time to say that the federal government's going to come in now and affect the lives of people in my local community. That's standing up for the community, not necessarily for your agenda. And you kind of have to, I think, applaud that. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blue 63. My road dog that is just, growing the outreach to people all over the country with his wonderful platform and the ways in which he's reaching out to help people be a part of something. And that's something that you should be very, very proud of, Kurt.
I appreciate it. And you've been a motivator behind that. And to go back a little bit on what you were saying about Trump and how it's what people can do for him. You and I come from the places, what can we do for you?
Yeah.
You're a perfect example of that. What can I do for you to help get your message out? And I have taken that same approach. What can I do to help you expand what you're believing and expand what you're thinking? I've met a lot of the people that I have mentioned, or quite a few of them, have been reserved in the past. They don't want to talk about the issues that mean the most to them for one reason or another, good or bad. It doesn't matter. They just have been reserved about it. I'd like to let them know that, I had a conversation with one of them, for instance. I don't think anybody's listening to me. Yeah, they are. People want to hear what you say. They don't want to hear some made up story or some Hollywood production of what your thoughts are. People respond to organic, raw, emotional verbiage or presentation, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. When you are yourself and you are talking from the heart and you are addressing the issues that matter to you the most, people will listen. It may not be 10,000 people, but they will listen. And the more you talk, the more people will come to give you their ear. So, and that's what I'm even more that way now than I ever have been. So,
it's interesting.
And again, I thank you for that, because you've been able to give me a platform that has, been able to bring a lot of people into your world that neither one of us never would have met before. So,
without a doubt. I think that,
and we have to keep doing that.
And that's what I was going to say. We have to keep doing that, because what's interesting about it is more, more means more, and success begets success and all those phrases. But the reality is, it allows us to touch people, reach out to people that have something to say, and maybe might be a little bit shy about it. Maybe you've got an opinion about, what's going on with this war, but they don't know how to get that opinion out there. And so this is where, the outreach is so important. I want to go to Amy McDonald, who I had on Monday, who is the podcaster and social media person that's out in Seattle. That's another example. I mean, just by listening to what people are saying, and she is smart as heck and does research and knows history. And she probably knows some stuff about history that a lot of people who are the quote unquote corporate media types don't know about. So it's not that, we're denigrating the corporate media, but I think that the country, a large part of the country is saying, you know what, there are other voices out there. It's not just the people that we see on the quote unquote, major networks and major cable outlets and all the rest. There are a lot of people, smart people in our country that are plugged in. Yeah. They have information. They want to share it. And that's how, an Amy McDonald suddenly becomes a name that people know, in other parts of the country. And I'm excited to be a part of sort of that fostering those kinds of conversations so that we can, talk about the insanity of this administration. We can talk about the success of a primary election in Illinois, and then people can go, yeah, this is where we need to be.
Yeah, everyone that I've introduced you to them say the same thing. Jake said it the other week last week after Houston. What a great guy. So that's a compliment. You need to understand, and you know that.
Thank you.
I'm sure your wife tells you every day.
She keeps my head. She keeps my head. Right. Night.
Yeah. We won't go down that bias or unbiased opinion. That's just, we'll just leave it at that. But and I'm going to say something broad, and I don't mean to offend anybody. And this is mainly towards television. Most of the people on TV network news are idiots. So there's that. We need to listen to the common folk more than we do need to listen to,
that's
cable
all,
news.
And that's always been the case. Kirk, that's always been the case. It's like, how many times have we heard over the years, go sit down with that older woman or that older guy and just sit down and listen, and the stories and the knowledge you get from them is worth, bags of gold, because they're going to tell you the stuff you need to hear. And the stuff that you maybe don't want to hear, but it's important that you get it on a lot of different fronts. And you and I, we know that some of those best conversations are sitting with an old guy or an old gal and just letting them tell you what the day is.
Yeah, but recently, and this is what has affected me a lot lately. In the past few months, okay, I have learned more from the young women that I have met.
Yeah.
The black, the brown, the white, all of these young women that I have been able to be invited into their circle, and I have invited into my circle. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
the knowledge and the perspective that even though I feel like I have my finger on the pulse,
I know.
Dude, when
you hang out with them for a minute and you're like, oh, wow.
Wow. You talk to a 34-year-old black woman from Riverside, California, you're going to learn some stuff, man. She's going to set you down, and she's going to say, listen, let me tell you how reality is.
Yep.
Because you old boy in Indiana, you don't know what, you may think. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just blows me away. And that's what I've been digging into more lately, because it's amazing. But I've always, you and I are the same way. We understand the place in our lives, in our society, what women play.
Yep.
They have been BAs their entire lives. Okay. They have been the ones who have created, so most of the good in our country. And when you make broad statements like that, it's always, but
yeah.
Anyway, that's just, I wanted to say that. Well, and if we have time, I want to talk about the Illinois race too, but go ahead.
I know No. I wanted to get, since we're talking about this as it relates to women, and I know that right now HR 22, the SAVE Act, is about to potentially drive a hole through women and their place when it comes to voting, because it's a target toward women. And let's talk a little bit about that. You posted an article or piece earlier this week that I just wanted to take a quick stab at. Go for it real quick, and then we'll talk about the election real fast.
No, you go right ahead, because I'm not quite sure what you're referring to. I do so many different things.
No. You were just talking. One of the things that you had posted about some of what will happen with the SAVE Act, and what I'd like, what I want people to do is take some time today I talked about this earlier in the week. You need to call your congressional leaders, both House and Senate, to make sure that this thing gets, submerged, because it has to. This is going to affect so many people in our communities, and so you posted this great piece.
What they're not telling you, what the Democrats are trying to tell you, and what the Republicans are saying is not the truth, which is the truth. Okay, this SAVE Act will have a devastating effect on women, people of color, and also the trans community, and anyone who does not have a matching identification that lines up with their birth certificate. Okay, you have to have matching identification that lines up, that your name is the same. Okay, if you were born and your last name was Johnson, and then you were married and took the name Miller, you cannot vote until it all says Johnson.
Right.
Okay, either you have a passport or
a birth certificate,
whatever the case may be.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So what they're not telling you is the money that it will cost for people to do this. I think I read 21 million voters don't have driver's license.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's that.
And ironically,
the number for passports is even higher.
It's even higher. The irony of that driver's license piece is that a lot of the people that don't have them live in metropolitan areas, which tend to vote blue. Mm-hmm. Because there's a public transportation. I mean, it's a crazy sort of notorious way of doing it. Cities that have good transportation systems, that are metropolitan cities where people may not need a driver's license for their day-to-day getting to and from, it will impact at the, like Thanos snapping his finger, because those folks don't drive. So they may have a state ID, but a state ID is not a driver's license. And so this is just what I want everybody to do, and we're going to talk tomorrow with Brian Lemech about this a little bit more. I want everybody to take some time today. I know we've been crazy with the primaries, and reach out to your congressional leaders. That's enough said there. Kurt, real quick as we wrap up, you were going to say something about the primaries.
Well, yeah, here in Indiana, we were keeping and across the nation, we were keeping a close eye on the primaries for District 9 and there in Illinois, and in particular, our focus was on Kat,
right,
and also Mike Simmons. Okay, both of them. There was strong support for both of them, and although she lost and Mike's performance was not where we wanted it to be, I think it sent a clear message to not only people in Illinois, to the country, and also to AIPAC. AIPAC came in and dumped over $21 million to try to defeat a 27-year-old journalist who has no political experience.
Right.
The fear that she put in people needs to be recognized. And I noticed on social media this morning, a lot of people are pounding the defeat, saying, oh, well, I guess the progressive. No. Let's take a look at the numbers, okay? Was there 16 or 17 people in that race?
I think it was 15. It was 15.
She was within 4 percentage points.
Yeah, it was close. So with that large of a number of people.
So here's the argument to where we have a top tier runoff. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wonder what it would be if Biss and her ran together, and I'm not trashing him. I'm just saying. Here's a perfect example. We had a runoff between the two top vote getters.
How would it change?
All of those votes that were down ballot.
Well,
what would the outcome be?
And one of the things
I take it as a positive thing for progressives.
So. And no doubt about that. Here's the thing I'll add to this as we wrap up. There were a number of people that we interviewed last night that said, or a handful of people that said, this is where the conversation around ranked choice voting does change the dynamic, and that actually came from 2 elected officials. So that's a conversation that we'll delve into in the future. Kurt, we got to run because I got to hit this break. But man, it's good to talk to you this morning.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
And glad you're well.
Appreciate it.
Let's keep the train moving forward, guys. Take a quick break. Absolutely. Kurt, good to see you. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
You too, Richard. Thanks a lot, buddy. Have a great day.
You too, man.
Talk to you later.
773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. When we come back, Jill Habig will be with us to talk about protecting rights in all communities. We'll be right back.
You know, winter in Chicago hits hard. Is your home ready to stay warm and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help you fight back against the cold. They're Chicagoland's trusted experts in attic insulation, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, and mold remediation, solutions that lock in warmth and cut your heating bills. If your upstairs feels freezing or your furnace never stops running, your attic might be the culprit. Their team seals in comfort and stops energy waste at the source. Need roofing? Their sister company, Green Attic Roofing, offers asphalt, flat, premium roofs, and even Tesla solar roofs, all backed by a 10-year labor warranty and instant online quotes. Winter storms don't wait. Replace that aging roof now and protect your investment. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic delivers real comfort, real savings, season after season. Visit greenattic.com for a free insulation consultation or go to greenatticroofing.com for your instant roofing estimate. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family.
This is Tony Moray. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moreylawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Caro. For today, we'll have some lingering snow showers to start, otherwise wrapping up as we head towards the midday and afternoon with high temperatures into the lower 40s. Then for tonight, mostly cloudy, a chance for some light rain showers developing late, a low of 34. Thursday, lingering chance for some showers through midday, a high of 54, and for your Friday into the mid-60s. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 25.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks, as always, to our good friend Kurt Mullett from Hoosier Blues 63 for hanging with us this morning and reminding us of the importance of connecting with people all over the country. We keep reaching out. We keep building this thing and making sure that the people who are, in many cases, the least among us, not necessarily economically, but just in terms of their voice, are represented, and that there's someone out there that is going to look out and look after people that are without representation or without the confidence that somebody cares or gives a darn. Our next guest is a prototype of that in terms of caring for people and making sure that they're represented and making sure that their rights are cared for and looked after. Jill Habig is with us this morning, and I am so thrilled to have her be a part of our conversation. She is an attorney, political strategist, and the founder and CEO of one of those organizations that represents the Public Rights Project. Jill, good morning and welcome to Choose Views on WCPT here in Chicago.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, founder and CEO of an organization that the name says it all, Public Rights Project. Let's talk a little bit about you and your building of this and sort of your career getting to this point as president and founder, but also a little bit about the organization and what it's doing and what it has been doing for such a long time.
Yeah, thank you. So Public Rights Project is a national nonprofit that helps local government officials use the law to protect their communities. So I started the organization at the beginning of the first Trump administration. Who knew where we would be 9 years later? But I actually spent my career in state and local government myself, building big civil rights cases. I worked on the marriage equality trial in California. I worked on a number of cases to protect children's civil rights in juvenile justice systems and education. And then I started Public Rights Project really because I saw a need for local governments to really have a playbook and work together to advance the law in favor of their own communities. And we've seen this really over the last year in particular. Local governments are on the front lines on so many issues, whether it's voting rights and the upcoming elections, ICE and protecting their residents from, really egregious federal enforcement, things like abortion rights, and really pushing back when the federal government is threatening their own communities.
Right here in Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson was one of the first mayors, along with Mayor Karen Bass in California and Mayor Michelle Wu in Boston, taking those three cities as it relates to ICE that were attacked, literally. Mayor Johnson stood up and stood strong and said, no, we're not going to let this happen. We're going to fight back. We're going to use every tool legally that we have to be able to push back on this invasion by ICE. You've been one of those voices that's kind of gotten behind local leaders and said, here's what we can do to help. Here's what you guys should, additionally be aware of that are tools that you guys can use. Talk a little bit about that in terms of your involvement with local municipalities and organizations.
Yeah, so one of the things that we have been doing over the last year is not just supporting cities one by one, but really connecting them to share strategies and fight together. Because what this administration is trying to do, we've seen it in almost everything, is they try to isolate people and divide them so that they feel like there's no possible way they could go up against the federal government and win. And they've done the same thing with cities. But when cities have actually pushed back together, they have won against this administration over and over. And Mayor Johnson and Chicago is such a great example. We have been supporting cities across the country since last summer with the LA occupation, in really thinking about using every tool at their disposal to protect their communities. So whether it's things like what Mayor Johnson has done with making sure that ICE can't use city property to stage raids and the National Guard can't, invade cities, to making sure that residents know their rights. One of the things that is so important in moments like this is that everyday community members understand how they can band together and not be intimidated by this administration. And so we saw that in Chicago, in Minneapolis, and in so many other communities. And then one of the biggest things we help them with is using the courts. So we have represented 90 cities and counties across the country in lawsuits against this administration, and we have won almost all of them. So we've been able to protect $20 billion of federal funding that the administration has tried to hold hostage from cities for things like emergency equipment, housing, transportation, public health. And so what we've really seen is that when cities band together, they win against this administration, and Chicago is such a good example of that.
Yeah, our mayor has been right at the front line with that. We've had, obviously primaries just yesterday, and so many of our leaders here in Illinois. We're so blessed here in Illinois. We've got some strong folks that are doing the work. Lieutenant Governor Stratton is probably going to be the next senator from the state, black woman, attorney like you, who's a fighter and stood up with our governor, Pritzker. And like you, in California, you've got strong leaders there. And what I'm finding more and more, Jill, is that when we do exactly what you just said and not just fight this thing by ourselves, because they are trying to divide us. And I know that you can't be partisan necessarily, but you point out reality. And I think sometimes that's what is missing. People forget to point out the reality of what's going on. And trying to divide us is exactly what this administration is doing. And some state officials are trying to do that as well, as divide us, pull us away from working with each other, hiding resources or withholding resources. But $20 billion, that's no joke. I didn't realize the number was that high. That's crazy.
Well, the administration is trying to use every lever that they have to force people to heal and to punish people who dissent from their agenda. And cities are no different. And so in a number of our cases, what the federal government has said is, sure, you can have that really important homelessness funding that your community desperately needs, or that transportation funding to fix broken down, bridge or road or protect your airport. But in order to get that money that you've already promised, that Congress has already decided your community needs, you're going to have to agree to deputize your local law enforcement as ICE agents. You're going to have to agree to give up any programming you have that supports reproductive health or family planning in your community. You're going to have to give up any, program that acknowledges that trans people exist and dares to serve them, or any program that we determine is a DEI program with no definition and, as vaguely defined as possible. So what cities have done is said, no, we're not going to accept this, extortion demand. We're going to take you to court and force you to defend these illegal policies. And the lower courts have said over and over again that the administration can't just use taxpayer dollars as a political extortion tool. And so it's really an example, and we've seen this across the country, right? So many people have caved to this administration, right? And so the administration wins when people don't push back. We've unfortunately seen it with our most powerful corporations in the world, with universities, with a lot of big law firms, right? But when people decide to say, no, you actually can't do that under the Constitution, we're going to force you to actually defend yourself in court, the administration almost always loses.
They do. And the taco label that Trump has received could be spread throughout the entire administration, because once they really get pressed hard, they know that they won't have the ability to win in court. And I want to come back to something that you just said, that it's kind of a merging of ideas. Minneapolis was told, and I'm breaking this down, that if you give us your voter information, then we'll have ICE leave. Well, as it turned out, they stood up and said, no, we're not going to do that. Y'all still need to leave. And guess what? They left.
That's right.
And so that just proves that that no means no. And, when the more and more cities are able to do that, and municipalities, I should say more broadly, the better. And you guys have been at the tip of the spear in pushing that agenda and making sure that they're armed with the knowledge that they can do it. And here's how we can help you do it, and how cities are fighting back. The key word, like you said before, is together. And I think it's so important, and maybe even not undervalued, Joe, but tell me what your experience might be is when you talk to city officials and when you talk to leaders in that space around together. Are they feeling it, or are they feeling less of it, if that makes any sense?
They are really feeling it. And we saw this beginning, last January. A lot of mayors and city officials that we worked with, they were feeling really scared about this administration. And, for good reason, right? We saw this administration threaten local officials with prosecution, right? They arrested the mayor of Newark early last year just because he dared to go to an ICE facility. They have investigated, the Attorney General of New York, Jim Comey, right? They are trying to create this culture of fear, and then they were threatening cities' funding. So many cities get, almost a quarter of their total budget from the federal government. And so that's not something, if you feel that sense of responsibility to your community, you can't just give up 25% of your budget and think that your community is going to be okay. And so, people were really feeling exposed, their personal safety, their livelihood, their liberty, all of those things. And so what we found is once we started actually, taking some baby steps, getting folks into court, we filed a case to, defend cities that have so-called sanctuary policies, right, that limit their cooperation with ICE. We won that first court order saying, no, you cannot defund cities just because they don't want to lend their resources to help ICE. Then cities started joining in, and they felt, some of our cases grew from 5 or 6 cities to 50, or we have one case with 75 cities and counties all in one lawsuit together. And what mayors have said over and over across the last year is that they want that protection, the strength in numbers, right? I'm a Warriors fan. Sorry, I'm in California. Strength in numbers is the mantra that we have had ever since 2015. Yep. And that is what mayors have felt together. They do not want, they will stick their neck out if they have to. We saw it with Mayor Johnson with the National Guard occupation. We saw it with Mayor Fry in Minneapolis with the ICE occupation of that city. But they would much rather do it in community and understand that they are much harder to take down when they are all aligned together, and that's part of what we help them do.
Without a doubt. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We're talking with Jill Habig, who is the founder and CEO of one of the nation's most powerful, kind of silent, but most powerful organizations when it comes to public rights, and that's the Public Rights Project. Jill, let me ask you this question about accountability. We know that this year currently, and next year, and then going into the 2020 national election, that we've got to really work hard to work together. We've got to be able to hold this administration and power it at large accountable. And I always ask a question in this vein. What is it that as an individual you want to see people doing maybe more of when it comes to that conversation around holding levers of power accountable?
Well, I will say, Minneapolis residents and Chicagoans have given us a master class in the last 2 months about what they can do in the face of the threats that we're seeing from the federal government. They can band together, they can organize, they can make sure their neighbors get to work and to school, they can document the abuses of this administration. So those are all really important things. But we're in an election year, and Public Rights Project is a nonpartisan organization. So our goal is to make sure that people can vote and that local election officials have the tools they need to run a free and fair election, and that every eligible vote is counted. And so, but what that system needs is people need to actually come out and vote. And so the goal of the intimidation we've seen from this administration is to make people feel it's pointless, but it's not, right? Your participation in our voting system is your power. So I just want to say to people, don't give that up, right? So folks can get out and vote this year and make sure everyone is also voting. Make a plan to vote. If your state allows it, vote early or vote by mail. That's one of the simplest ways that we can avoid any of the disruptions that we think this administration could be planning for Election Day. Be thoughtful about what you share online. I think that's an important lesson for people. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and as we know, this administration peddles in disinformation, and so check what you're sharing, check what you see before you share it, and rely on your local election office for accurate information. So those are just a few things that people can do. If they have time, they can volunteer to be a poll worker. They can, support the organizations working to make our elections and make sure they stay secure. So there's a lot of things that people can do, but the most important thing they have to do is vote.
Yeah, and also, and thank you for really kind of walking us through that, Jill. I think the other thing that is important, tying back to the legal aspect, is understand what's in some of the bills or the executive orders. Take the time to read these things. And I don't want to sound like this to anybody that's listening anywhere in the country, that I'm harping on anybody. But I think that if Jill were to put on her professor, her lecturer, her hat, she'd probably say to study the documents, to read what's out there and know what is inside of the things that they're trying to hoist upon us. Does that make sense how I'm sort of cobbling that together, Jill?
No, I think that's absolutely right. And I think it's also important to remember, this administration puts out a lot of executive orders. And those executive orders often say a lot of things in them that are just not true. And so what I mean by that is, executive orders are not laws. The administration cannot just put out an executive order that changes the Constitution or changes what Congress has said without actually going to Congress and getting a bill passed. And so we saw this in the election context, right? They have passed an executive order that tries to take over local elections in lots of ways. And they just simply can't do that. And the courts have said that they can't do that. And so certainly read the executive orders, but also remember that this administration likes to pretend it has power it doesn't, because it wants to see if people will just give them that power if they pretend they have it. And so really look at what the courts have said in addition to what this administration has said. And, as we're coming up on the elections, we're expecting to hear a lot more bluster from this administration about federal interference in elections. But the federal government cannot take over our elections. Courts have said this over and over. The Constitution is very clear that state and local governments run the basic details of our elections, and part of our role at Public Rights Project is making sure it stays that way and that local officials have all the tools they need to keep our elections secure.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because a lot of times when I talk about it and people keeping people motivated and staying in the fight, they having support like yours to really come at it from a legal perspective to say, no, they can't do that. And here's why. And people should know why they can't do it. So I encourage everybody to read the documents, read the things that are out there so that you have a sense of what's really happening. One of my colleagues, Karen Byrne, and I, during the spring of 2024, leading up to the election, we started breaking down a little bit of Project 2025 every week so that we could help people understand what this document was all about. So all I'm saying, folks, is y'all need to make sure we're all reading and looking at what's out there so that we are as informed as possible. Jill, as we wrap up, first of all, it's been great having you, and I'd love to have you back on the show because you are such a powerful voice, and so many more people need to know about you. I wrote down public, and what I meant as a reminder is what you're doing needs to be more public in the Public Rights Project, because more people, I believe, if they know that they've got tools, individuals knowing that they've got tools to then give their municipality, to work with their municipality, everybody gets stronger. So I really love to have you back again to talk more about the issues in this space. So looking forward to that being a yes, and we figuring out how to get you back on the show.
Anytime. And people can go to publicrightsproject.org and sign up for our newsletter. They can look at our cases and see if their cities are involved in any of our cases. And so always happy to come back.
And the website, again, is publicrightsproject.org. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's right.
publicrightsproject.org. So make sure you guys get there. Jill, one last comment. You really spoke heartfully, I should say, this year about Dr. King and his legacy. Just take a half a minute and just share what Dr. King and his legacy means to you now.
Well, I think that one of the things that I've been trying to really hold dear and remember in a moment like this, where it feels like so much is on the line, and it feels like in some days we're not only like relitigating the civil rights movement, we're relitigating Reconstruction sometimes, right? Like they're trying to dismantle birthright citizenship. And so it's easy to be disheartened. But I think about a couple of things. I think about the lawyers in the civil rights movement who spent years putting together cases to cobble together rights for themselves and their communities. And that took decades, right? That is not the work of a day or a year. And so they were disciplined enough to continue to have hope even when that hope did not feel appropriate for the moment, right? And then I think about folks like, Coretta Scott King, who is somebody that my former boss, Kamala Harris, has quoted often. She said, freedom is never won. You earn it and win it in each generation.
Yeah. Sure did.
And so I think that is something we have to remember every day. This is our wins are not permanent and our losses are not permanent.
Wow.
So we have to, when we win, we cannot get complacent. We cannot say, okay, we have this right. Right. I started my career working on marriage equality. That has now been called back into question. And so we have to continue to defend it. But when we lose, that is also not permanent, right? We get the opportunity to continue to fight. And so we've seen that with abortion, for example. We lost in Dobbs, but a lot of states have won back their own protections under their state constitutions. And we've had the privilege of working with a number of local officials to help do that. So I think just remembering that nothing is permanent, and that is also, that is a call to action and also some comfort that there are brighter days ahead if we work towards them.
Jill Habig, thank you for being with us this morning. It's been a pleasure. I mean, what an education, and I've just been sitting here taking notes, and I'm thrilled to have had you on the show, and I look forward to having you back. Stay safe, stay strong, and focused in the work that you do, and we really appreciate you hanging out with us this morning.
Thanks so much.
Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye.
All right, guys, there you go. Thanks to Jill. Thanks to Kurt as well, and certainly Anna for being with us this morning. And congratulations again to all of our folks who won in their elections last night and are in the fight to lead us forward. We appreciate the hard work that they put in. Thanks to all of our team here at WCPT that helped in the broadcast yesterday. So there you go, guys. Make sure you stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. And remember to take a deep breath and make your life count. We will see you tomorrow.
Margaret is a 71-year-old widow who came to Brookfield Tax Planning because she was worried her accountant and financial advisor weren't doing enough to reduce her taxes. During their free, no-obligation tax reduction review, it was revealed that Margaret had been overpaying $7,250 each year since her husband passed. $102,000 lost forever due to a lack of proactive tax planning. Her accountant does returns after the year is over when it's too late. Her advisor handles her investments but doesn't reduce her taxes. Once the year ends, tax reduction options shrink to almost nothing. Retirees and business owners should plan ahead now using legal proactive strategies to slash taxes. Stop overpaying. 94% of Brookfield's new clients are shocked that they've been paying too much every year. Call Brookfield Tax Planning at 708-485-3439 or visit BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com for your free review. You have nothing to lose. That's BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com.
WCPT replay.
We have Maria on the line from Chicago.
I'm so impressed with how you and everybody on WCPT are able to stay sane with all the chaotic nonsense that comes out of the White House and all the violence and all the crappy things that's going on around us, and how you are still able to be a voice for us, because WCPT is my go-to